question. Is there a heaven? If so, who's going there and who isn't? I love it. So, the word heaven, I don't know what the word heaven means. Is that what we see on this guy? But what we do, I think the better way to phrase the question is there something after we die? You know, or we just disappear into nothingness?
Is it pleasant?
And is it pleasant? Okay.
Plural in the Genesis of Shemayim.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So, what's absolutely clear from a Jewish perspective is that there is something after we die. But not only do we have evidence from the Torah says that, but it makes sense. You know, if you agree, once you accept the premise of a designer, of an intelligent design to the world, by definition, you're accepting life after death. By definition. Why? Because once you have the idea of a creator, thus you have the idea of a plan, right? Intelligence doesn't do something as elaborate as the universe without having a plan, right? And the plan probably mandates, or the plan we could see is for humans to make free choices. That's the spectrum, or that's the scale that propels the world. Thus, our actions have meaning, and that meaning is going to play out in reward and punishment. Like, these things all make sense. Now, what's clear is that we don't have reward and punishment in this world. That's absolutely clear. There's no way that Hitler paid for his crimes in this world. You know, no way. It's not possible. Yes. It has to be that that there's something else. I mean, there's a logical conclusion, and then there's the textual conclusion. In fact, the Talmud in Sanhedrin brings about, I lost track, I think it was like 19 different sources from the Torah of life after death. It brings sources from the actual Torah, not based on tradition, none of that, from the Torah itself. What happens after you die? I think, there's the simplification of life after death, but then there's more nuance. We talk about, there's the idea of Gan Eden, there's the idea of Tchias HaMesim. So Gan Eden is the Garden of Eden, or paradise, we could call it. We could call this idea of Gehenna, or purgatory, or hell. And then there's the idea of Olam Haba. These four ideas, I think, comprise the framework of what this. Listen, I don't consider myself an expert, but the basic understanding of what we believe in life after death is one of these four things. Heaven and hell, we call heaven and hell, or paradise and purgatory, whichever one you prefer, whichever alliteration strikes your fancy. And then we have the other two, which is Tchias HaMesim, resuscitation of the dead, and Olam Haba. So that answers the first part of the question. So who's going there? Who isn't? I think everyone's going somewhere. The question is where. The question is where. We have another category called kares. Kares means it's. I think we can look at these two stages. We put heaven and hell, or paradise and purgatory in one. It's more of that's not a destination. That's a process.
So hell is a process.
It's a process.
Jewish concept.
Oh yeah.
And it's not a place of eternal torment.
Right. That's a process. Like I said, it's a process. It's not a destination. It's a process.
That mean that you were close to God.
Ideally.
What heaven and hell is, we don't know the exact details.
See, what bothers me is where do the animals go?
Well,
Do animals have souls?
Well, we don't know. We don't know. Who knows if we know?
animals have a bark mitzvah.
Well, there's no
So bad.
There's no question that God said
Bark mitzvah.
that we have dominion over the animals.
Well, in Jewish philosophy, there's various levels of spirits or souls. You know, that talk about the this is millennia old. The difference between like a rock and a plant versus an animal versus a human, and there are those who say a human versus a Jew. That's the debate. That Jew is a higher level of a soul. Okay, what happens to the animals? That's a good question. I don't know. They do have obviously they do have more of a spiritual spirit of life to them than a plant, and that has more than just something sedentary like a rock.
They have a nefesh, but they don't have a neshama.
That's what we would probably say. You know.
What is that?
The nefesh is the life force of the body, but the neshama is what's connected to the Almighty.
Yeah. So if you dig deeper, you'll find that the Zohar and the Kabbalah, which somebody I know nothing about, says that there's 5 parts of the soul. Ruach, Nefesh, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. I think what this means, I have no idea. I don't consider myself an expert, and in fact, I find myself ignorant in these matters. But yeah, so your soul, animal has something. I don't know exactly what it has, but it has more than. So everyone goes somewhere. As to Olam Haba, we talk about the destination. So the Mishnah says in the end of Sanhedrin, Kol Yisrael Yesh Lahem Chelek Olam Haba. Very, very famous words that we say. All of Israel has a portion of the world to come. Thus, by merely being Jewish, you're guaranteed to have a portion, what we call the destination afterlife, not heaven and hell or paradise and purgatory, right? We're talking about what we're talking about as the ultimate reward and punishment. All of Israel. And these are the ones that don't have a portion of the world to come. So, and there's ways that even someone who is part of Israel, they could lose it, by merely being part of the fraternity that is the Jewish people. You're granted into this kind of relationship that Abraham started, that was perpetuated by the Jews throughout the centuries, of the special closeness with the Almighty that warrants such a state. And unless you lose it, you'll still have that. But how do you lose it? So the Mishnah gives a whole bunch of examples of how you can lose it. If someone says there's no Tchias HaMesim, someone rejects some of the basic tenets of Jewish belief, someone who says the Torah is not divine, someone who is an apikoros means a heathen or a heretic. What that means, it's also discussion, exactly. It gives a whole list. Basically, people that disassociate themselves from the Jewish people. So, if you're a Jew and you're associated with the Jewish people and you believe the core beliefs of the Jewish people, even someone who's distant from practice has a portion of what to come. Gentiles, Chasidei Umot Ha'olam, the righteous of the Gentiles, Yesh Lahem Chet Olam Haba, have a portion of what to come as well. We don't believe that we have the monopoly on what's good and what's right and what people can accomplish. You don't have to be Jewish to be good. That's broad Jewish pluralism. We say, hey, if someone's a righteous Christian or a righteous Muslim or just a good guy, you don't have to be Jewish to be good and have a portion of what to come. The righteous of the Gentiles have a portion of what to come. We're the only one of the major religions that do that. The Christians say if you don't believe in Jesus, eternal damnation. If you don't believe in Allah and Muhammad Rasul Allah, then Dar al Harb. And right, we know that the Muslims don't believe that. They have a very much a singular, universal vision of what is good and what's right and what's righteous and what's moral.
My thing is 1.3 billion Chinese can't all be wrong. I would say that for the Indians, 1.2.
What?
About what's going to happen afterwards. So,
what do you mean? Of course they could. Remember, there's billions of people wrong regardless. However you slice it, there's billions of people wrong. There's no way to avoid that. Why? Because the second you have the Christians and the Muslims, right? If they were to face off, they don't agree. They're mutually exclusive. Thus, at least a billion people are wrong. It's no shock to me that there's a billion Chinese wrong.
1.3 Chinese. They don't all believe the same thing anyway. But there are going to be at least some of them.
But if they're righteous, they have a portion of what to come. What's the problem?
In Judaism, but in Christianity and Muslim, it's different.
Okay, but
we're only a small.
So what are you saying? You're saying that if the Christians are right, which by the way we have evidence that they're not, but let's assume they were right. Yes, a lot of people are toast, right? As in us Jews or the Muslims or the Hindus or the Buddhists or everybody except for them, exactly, and even them, whichever one of the the sects that you fall into. That being said, yes. Thankfully for the world, we're right. Thus, everyone who is there's a happy ending to this. Thus, everyone who is a righteous, even if they're not Jewish, they have a portion of what to come. Thankfully. Okay, whatever. We're making generalizations, obviously.
But it is in the Bible, and that's why it's
what I'm trying to say is nobody knows.
Well,
nobody's going to know because there's nobody.
We have a good guess. We have lots of good guesses. Okay, so that's the question: is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Who's going there and who isn't? we have a Mishnah that I mentioned in the end of Chartei Makros that says, the Almighty wanted to benefit the Jewish people, therefore He increased for them Torah and mitzvos. The Almighty loves us, thus He gave us so many commandments and so many restrictions. Says Maimonides there in his commentary on the Mishnah that in order for a person to gain entry into Olam Haba, into the world to come, they have to do at least one mitzvah perfectly. I know I mentioned this to this group before, so I'll do it expeditiously this time. Therefore, there's so many opportunities. Each mitzvah is a ticket that if we stamp correctly, we are well on our way to our destination, which is Olam Haba. So many mitzvahs, so many opportunities. It's not possible for a Jew to go live his whole life without doing one mitzvah perfectly, thus stamping his own ticket and gaining entry into the world to come on his own merit, not just being as part of the Jewish people. So yes, I think that's the basic answer. Let's move on to the next question.